Welcome back to the deep dive. We are jumping straight into the source materials today, and trust me, you are going to want to buckle up for this one. We have opened a massive, really complicated case file. It's a deep, intimate look at the moment a newly created immortal being faces the total collapse of her existence.
It's a lot, and it's driven by biological compulsion, ancient politics, and a crushing, deeply personal betrayal.
We are essentially analyzing a crisis of supernatural survival.
That's absolutely right. Our source material here is pretty unique. It's these intimate, high-stakes excerpts from what are basically the subject's private records. The Succubus diaries.
Right.
And these notes, they meticulously track the life and the recent, just catastrophic affliction of Jackie Brighton. She was an archaeologist, a museum docent who, through, circumstance, was rapidly transformed into a succubus.
So these records, they don't just describe what happened.
Not at all. They map her emotional, her physical, and her strategic efforts to survive. And all of this is under the constant pressure of two incredibly powerful immortal masters.
And our mission today is to become your expert guides through this labyrinth. We need to analyze the core mechanics of succubus biology, what the sources are calling the itch, and really understand why this fundamental requirement is also her greatest vulnerability.
And then there are the politics.
Exactly. Then we'll decode the complex, hostile political structures governing the two major factions vying for her loyalty, the Surim, or fallen angels, and the vampires.
And finally, trace the curse.
Step by step. The terrifying origin, the rapid progression, and the incredibly high price of the cure for a curse that nearly wiped out her mind.
It's an analysis of extreme dependency, political maneuvering, and high-level deception, all unfolding during a chaotic cross-country road trip.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start at the very foundation of her existence.
To truly grasp the urgency of Jackie's story, you have to start with the foundational concept that governs her whole life now, the itch.
Right. And it's important for you to understand this isn't a metaphor. It's not just a simple desire.
No, it's the core biological imperative for a succubus to survive.
The sources define this with, clinical clarity. The itch is the engine that keeps them alive and functional. It compels them to seek out sex specifically, to be the recipient of a male orgasm every 48 hours, without fail.
And if she doesn't feed the itch,
she dies. Simple as that.
And this mechanism, it's also the source of their iconic appearance. I mean, before her transformation, Jackie described herself as plump and dowdy.
Yeah.
The succubus transformation, which is driven by this constant need, it molds her into a specific, compelling physical ideal. She becomes svelte and stunning with a fabulous red mane and a beauty that is, universally compelling.
So the physical enhancement is directly tied to her biological necessity. She's attractive because she has to be to constantly secure a partner for survival.
Exactly.
We see the acute physical symptoms of urgency when that itch clock starts winding down. The source details a full-body flush, sensitive and overheated skin, a state of hyperarousal that makes her perpetually vulnerable.
And the eyes. The sources are very clear about the eyes.
Oh, yeah. They darken dramatically from this bleached gray color to a blazing blue. When those eyes turn blue, you know she's just hours away from a critical failure state.
What stands out to me is the consequence of resistance, or, well, more accurately, the impossibility of resisting.
They can't fight it.
You can't. Failure to feed the itch leads directly to madness, intense pain, and eventual death by sexual starvation. The body literally begins to break down. We have that chilling historical parallel that Remy cites. Victoria, a succubus from centuries past. Her failure to feed the itch resulted in her body degrading into a dried-up husk in just a matter of days.
Wow.
That level of rapid physical and mental collapse for survival, it makes her situation constantly, precarious.
So she is trapped between having this total compulsive beauty and an absolute biological timer counting down to her death.
Yeah.
But her transformation, it added another layer of complexity that goes way beyond just biology.
The obedience mandate. That's the critical piece of her initial vulnerability. Jackie was turned by two different immortal beings, Zane, the vampire, and Noah Gideon, the Surim, a fallen angel. This instantaneously established a dual-master relationship.
So the moment she was transformed, she received what the sources call an instantaneous, involuntary psychic lock.
Any command issued by either master must be obeyed, instantly. Without question.
Can you imagine your entire autonomy is just subject to the whims of two, often conflicting, incredibly powerful entities. This obedience factor introduces massive control issues right from day one.
However, we have to give credit where it's due. Jackie, she initially leveraged this vulnerability as a high-level survival strategy.
She used their conflicting natural cycles.
She did. This is where understanding immortal schedules becomes so essential. Serum, being angels cast out of heaven, they maintain this bizarre connection to solar cycles. They go into a deep sleep at moonrise and wake up 12 hours later. They sleep through the night.
Well, vampires, of course, sleep through the daylight hours.
So, by analyzing their constraints, she managed to maintain two constant partners. Serum at night, vampire during the day.
That's pretty brilliant, actually.
It is. It's a strategic relationship model born purely out of pragmatic biological necessity and the need to circumvent that lethal timer.
Okay, so that covers the survival mechanism.
Yeah.
Let's move to her offensive and defensive capabilities. The suck powers.
Yeah.
These aren't just physical abilities, are they?
No, they are deep psychic tools that fundamentally change how she interacts with mortals. The most immediate power is telepathic mind reading upon touch.
So she touches someone and gets an instant data transfer.
Exactly. But she processes the influx of the victim's thoughts through a personalized visual filter.
And this visual association is key because it tells us something about the succubus's own subconscious filter, right?
It does. For Jackie, when she touches someone, she sees cluttered bedrooms, sometimes reflecting high school years or just simple, mundane domestic chaos. For her friend Remy, the professional porn star, she sees movie sets in people's heads.
That's fascinating. It's like a psychic fingerprint.
It is. This unique visualization method allows the succubus to rapidly filter complex psychic data, but the power becomes terrifying when it's used improperly or, as we see later, when it becomes uncontrollable.
The core function is the ability to shut off their mind.
Right, causing a coma. The sources clarify that unethical succubi, like certain mercenaries, they use this power for influence, or to extract information, or just render targets docile.
For Jackie, the power is still developing, and its misuse leads to this crisis. She accidentally discovers that by concentrating, or just by a moment of intense stress touch, she can cause a mortal to collapse into a coma.
And we see this tragically demonstrated later with the pizza delivery guy, Mr. Cheese.
More Mr. Cheese.
When she tries to mentally reach him to wake him up, she finds his mental landscape. The Star Trek memorabilia, the Yoda sheets, the beanbag chair, but she notes this frightening absence.
No one was home.
No one was home? His consciousness had completely vanished? She understands the terrifying mechanism immediately. The power hasn't just put him to sleep, it has vacated his mind from his body.
And she realizes you can't wake someone up if they're not there in the first place.
This accidental, irreversible mind wiping, caused by simple touch, becomes the first defining symptom of the curse that later threatens her life.
So you have this combination of forced obedience, a lethal biological clock, and this terrifying, unstable psychic power. It makes her not just an immortal, but, an operational liability in the complex supernatural world she's been thrust into.
Jackie's biological necessity immediately threw her into the deepest trenches of this ancient, hostile celestial conflict. Her survival strategy required balancing two enemies, and we have to understand their ideological rift to get why there was so much friction.
Okay, let's look first at the serum perspective, which is embodied by Noah Gideon. What is the foundational trauma of the serum?
Well, the serum are the fallen angels, specifically those like the archangel Uriel, who were condemned by heaven.
And their condemnation, it didn't come because they waged war or anything like that.
Well, it came because they fell in love with human females and broke the celestial rules. Their punishment is unique. They are doomed to have sex and give orgasms to their partners for eternity while living among mortals.
That distinction is so profound. They aren't just condemned to mortal life, they're condemned to pleasure.
Exactly. It's a spiritual irony. It forces them to constantly participate in the very act that caused their fall, even as they're attempting a kind of spiritual rehabilitation.
So their primary goal is to strive to work their way back into the good graces of heaven.
Precisely. This creates a deep psychological tension. They have to fulfill their curse's signality in giving pleasure, while simultaneously trying to maintain a form of spiritual purity or control to prove they're worthy for re-entry.
And this spiritual tension, it dictates their conflict with vampires.
Yeah.
Noah views vampires like Zane as the absolute ideological enemy. Why is that?
Because vampires, in the serum view, they represent total spiritual surrender. They're seen as those who have given up on heaven entirely.
Having sold their loyalty to demons in exchange for wings.
Yes. The Sarum accused them of living a life of selfish debauchery. So for Noah, Zane isn't just a competitor for Jackie's affection, he is a symbol of everything Noah is actively trying to escape. A life of perpetual, unrepentant self-interest dictated by infernal deals.
Which makes the Sarim's relationship friction with Jackie inevitable. Noah, driven by this existential need for control and a path back to purity, he demands exclusivity. He introduces the C word.
Commitment.
Commitment.
And his objection, it goes beyond mere human jealousy. He hates the idea of Jackie rushing from his bed, the bed of a being striving for redemption, straight to Zane's, the bed of a being who made a pact with a demon. He views it as a personal, theological, and ideological insult to his entire mission.
And this ideological demand leads to the relationship timeout. Noah, being the Surim, is inherently focused on imposing structure and purity. The source quotes him saying, "It is in my nature to want you only for myself."
He just can't tolerate the logistical arrangement, even though he knows it's pragmatic for Jackie's survival because of their sleep cycles. His need for control trumps her need for pragmatic safety.
Okay, now let's pivot. Let's analyze the motivations and drivers of the vampire faction, embodied by Zane. Their drivers are far more visceral, more immediate.
Absolutely. While the succubus requires sex every 48 hours, the vampire requires blood daily. And the source material confirms this need is even more powerful and consuming than the itch.
And this is where succubus biology plays a critical role again.
It really does. Succubus blood is not simply food for a vampire. It is described as the blood equivalent of an aphrodisiac. This creates a chemical, a physiological high that is intensely addictive for the vampire, and that solidifies a uniquely intense, dangerous bond between the two species.
This intense physiological craving, it leads directly to the core trust issues in Zane and Jackie's. Their volatile relationship.
Yeah. Jackie refuses to let Zane feed from her regularly, and her history totally supports her paranoia.
Past feedings induce this profound, dangerous mind meld. It's described as part out-of-body experience, part shared dreamscape.
And it gave the vampire near-total psychic control. The source recounts specific instances of betrayal. Once, this lack of control allowed Zane to steal her powers, leave her tied up, and kidnap her friends.
So the memory of that violation is why she remains so fiercely protective of her blood.
The description of the feeding mechanism itself is crucial for you, the listener, to understand the depth of intimacy and risk here. It's characterized as a precursor to the best orgasm ever. A euphoric, intense rush, followed by a bite-induced sleep.
But during this sleep, Jackie doesn't rest alone. Her mind hovers on the edge of the vampire's consciousness.
Leeching off his thoughts and experiences. It's an unwanted, terrifying form of forced psychic intimacy that just completely compromises her autonomy. She's biologically compelled to be aroused by the feeding, but she knows that surrender means a total loss of control.
It's clear why she sees withholding her blood as her last remaining form of leverage, even though the sources note that for a vampire, for his chosen succubus to withhold her blood is considered a grievous crime.
So Zane is perpetually torn between his desperate biological need for her blood, which also serves his queen's politics, and his professed love for her autonomy.
So the stage is set. You have a relationship balanced precariously on spiritual condemnation, daily bloodlust, and the ticking clock of the itch.
And this careful, strategic balance of two masters and two intense biological needs, it completely shatters when the external threat of the curse hits.
And the onset is not gradual at all. It is instantaneous and catastrophic.
Exactly. The source notes that the itch suddenly appears. It just flips on like a switch with this alarming intensity, even though Jackie had been with Zane less than a full day prior. The physiological indicator is immediate. Her eyes instantly turn that vivid, blazing blue,
signaling a severe, immediate, and totally inexplicable need.
And the escalation rate is the terrifying proof that her standard succubus mechanism is broken. The required frequency of sex rapidly increases, initially dropping from every 48 hours to every 23 hours, and it just keeps speeding up.
The clock is accelerating, and no amount of normal feeding will ever let her catch up.
And this escalating biological panic is coupled immediately with the second, devastating symptom, accidental mind wiping. This power, which was previously a conscious, difficult effort, now happens upon simple, accidental physical touch with any mortal.
Let's go back to the case of the first victim. The pizza delivery guy, Mr. Cheese. Jackie attempts to pay him, and just by touching his hand, he collapses, comatose and snoring.
The tragedy lies in the banality of the circumstance, right?
Yeah.
A simple transaction that turns into a permanent, devastating psychic injury.
The psychic anomaly is horrifying. When Jackie attempts to use her powers to enter his mind and pull his consciousness back, she finds that familiar mental landscape, the Star Trek imagery, the Yoda sheets, the beanbag chair.
The structure is there, but the inhabitant is gone. She confirms the central finding. No one was home. His consciousness had vanished.
She realizes she hasn't merely induced a deep sleep, she has psychically evicted his soul.
And the consequence is terminal. She knows a human body can't sustain life for more than a few days without the mind present. This accidental power is not only a threat to every mortal she encounters, but also a direct reflection of Victoria's fate.
So the need for immediate high-level analysis is paramount. She contacts Remy Somewhere, a centuries-old succubus who also happens to be a porn star,
And identifies her as the reluctant but necessary succubus expert.
Remy becomes the crucial source of historical knowledge. She recognizes the symptoms immediately, linking them to the historical case of Victoria, who was cursed 200 years prior by an ex-lover warlock for infidelity.
And Victoria's symptoms were identical. Rapidly increased powers, the accidental mind-wiping of humans by touch, and the terrifying amplification of the itch frequency, which sped up to hourly and then even less.
And the outcome was a desperate death. The source notes Victoria starved to death right in the middle of an orgy.
Because the curse made the feeding impossible to satisfy. This confirms for Jackie that the path she is on leads to a gruesome, inevitable end.
The diagnosis also provides a critical piece of operational intelligence: immunity.
Crucial immunity. The succubus mind-wiping powers, even when cursed and amplified, do not work on high-level immortals, serum, vampires, or demons. This is why Noah and Remy herself are unaffected by Jackie's increasingly dangerous touch.
Facing a terminal affliction, Jackie and Remy have to seek external aid. The investigation leads them to a graveyard, chosen because it's often partially unhallowed ground, and they're hoping to find a dealer, a low-level angel, who might have knowledge of powerful curses.
But instead they encounter the demoness May.
And May's appearance is not a coincidence. The demoness immediately confirms that Jackie is afflicted, noting her power signature is off the charts. But importantly, she confirms the power is not emanating from Remy.
Which is necessary because Remy is currently housing a complicating factor. The Serim spirit Yurkim, which she acquired during a disastrous halo hunting expedition.
So May, the classic infernal opportunist, recognizes her leverage. She agrees to identify the curse's true origin and nature for a seemingly insignificant price.
A small favor.
Small favor. Specifically carrying a simple message to an old friend, Delilah, inviting May over sometime.
But dealing with the infernal host is never simple. The source material underlines the extreme danger of this transaction. This agreement comes with a strict warning that favors often have hidden, deadly costs, and lying to angels or demons is a sin with permanent repercussions.
So this simple message exchange is fraught with unseen peril.
And the physical consequences of the demonic contact immediately cement the urgency of their mission. May's touch, a calculating, friendly kiss, burns Jackie's skin, causing blisters that heal rapidly because of the succubus's accelerated healing. But critically, the contact drastically amplifies the itch.
It flares back into immediate, unbearable existence.
The clock is sped up even further. She cannot afford to delay.
The diagnosis confirms the urgency, demanding a solution in New Orleans. So the plan is a 26-hour drive with Remy and her porn co-star, Drake the Serpent, to consult Delilah, the oldest succubus in America and a renowned voodoo priestess.
And this road trip immediately transforms into a series of interconnected, escalating crises.
The first crisis demonstrates the ongoing danger of her powers. Jackie accidentally uses her suck powers again during a physical altercation, causing George, Remy's date and lover, to collapse into a coma.
So this mind-wiping, it's no longer an anomaly. It's a predictable consequence of stress or accidental contact.
But before they can even address the comatose victim, Noah, the Serim, arrives in Ponca City, Oklahoma. He's tracked them down.
And he is furious about the chaos and, more importantly, the disregard for his presence.
This is where we see the mechanical, devastating power of the Master Command in action, linking back to that psychic lock we talked about.
Yep. Constrained by the Serim's sleep cycle, which requires him to sleep at moonrise, he can't physically stay to manage the situation immediately, so he issues a direct Master Command. Stay in Ponca City until he returns the next morning.
And the source describes the immediate physical response perfectly. Jackie's legs instantly seize up. They refuse to move a millimeter.
Her autonomy is 0. She is physically locked in place, demonstrating the involuntary nature and sheer force of the master bond, overriding her desperate need to flee.
The chaos then spreads to Remy. The serum spirit Joachim, which Remy acquired during that reckless halo hunting expedition, manifests violently.
And this happens during such a mundane moment, an autograph signing at a porn convention in Denver.
Joachim, the possessing spirit, turns Remy's eyes a furious demonic red and attempts this strange vampiric action. He tries to taste or feed from a soldier's neck.
Which suggests the serum spirit is either corrupted or driven by the same bloodlust that defines the vampires, maybe influenced by the very demonic forces the serum condemn.
So Jackie is forced into an immediate, unconventional intervention. She realizes that holy water, which Remy conveniently carries in her purse,
Because, of course, a succubus would carry holy water.
of course, is their only defense. Pouring holy water into Remy's mouth causes Joachim to hiss, recoil, and retreat.
This action confirms the spirit's unholy nature and forces Joachim to relinquish control temporarily, freeing Remy, but only proving the instability of her ally. The supernatural danger is constant and multifaceted.
The situation takes a deadly turn with the discovery of Drake's body. Drake the snake, is found dead in his hotel room, his throat savagely ripped open.
This is not a random mortal crime. It's a clear supernatural attack, suggesting a warning shot fired by a vampire, a serum operative, or some other powerful entity connected to the growing political struggle over Jackie.
And what's fascinating here is the immortal response to this mortal consequence. The sources confirm that Noah immediately steps in, utilizing his deep connections, his friends in high places, specifically mentioning a contact named Steve and a senator,
to perform rapid, high-level damage control and cover up the murder.
This detail provides crucial insight into the massive scale of immortal influence. They don't just exist in the shadows. They possess the infrastructure, political, legal, and criminal, to instantly erase the consequences of their violence from the mortal plane.
Yeah, the police are left holding one random mortal suspect, while Jackie and Remy, the true persons of interest, are at large. To aid their escape, they ditch their conspicuous cherry red Hummer and take off in a broken-down El Camino to go undercover.
Amidst this operational chaos, Jackie is momentarily separated and subjected to a very mortal threat. She is harassed and drugged roofied at a casino by a man the sources delightfully refer to as young and moderately handsome.
She's only rescued by the intervention of Luke, the tall stranger from the porn store with distinctive amber eyes.
And Luke is immediately flagged as a powerful unknown. He's immune to her mind-wiping power, but not because he's a vampire or serene.
He claims immunity because he is much older and much stronger, and claims ancient gypsy lineage. He volunteers to drive Jackie the rest of the way to New Orleans.
But the rescue is a calculated deception. Jackie soon realizes they missed the necessary turn to Louisiana hours ago. Luke has deliberately steered her into Mississippi.
Which is confirmed by a local gas station clerk reading the Clarion Ledger. This confirms Luke has ill intent and is playing a deeper, more manipulative game.
This diversion leads to the climactic moment of revelation with Delilah, the voodoo priestess. And Delilah employs powerful hoodoo magic, not just to identify the curse, but to uncover the mechanism of betrayal.
Delilah reveals that the curse was not placed on Jackie directly, but was designed to be passed to her via bodily fluids, a transfer curse, and it was keyed to target a specific unknown person.
So she performs the hoodoo test, using a specialized oil and a lock of hair from both potential suspects. Delilah first tests Noah's hair.
And the results are negative.
Then she tests Jackie's own hair.
And the result is devastatingly positive.
This leads to the shocking conclusion. Zane, the vampire, cursed Jackie. He used the fluid transfer as a mechanism. The curse was meant to be continually transferred, remaining inactive in its intermediate host until it hit its final intended victim.
This is the peak moment of emotional and political betrayal. Noah, the serum, immediately assumes the simplest motive. Zane cursed her to keep her dependent on him. It fits his narrative of vampire selfish debauchery.
But Jackie, however, still clings to this fragile, desperate faith in Zane's love. Despite all the evidence, the curse, the lying, the power theft, the abandonment, this emotional paradox just complicates the next phase of the crisis.
So with the curse diagnosed and the betrayer identified, the political stakes just skyrocket, and the crisis accelerates because of that simple favor Jackie did for the demoness May.
She was totally naive about the true costs of dealing with the infernal host. She delivers May's simple greeting message to Delilah.
And later, while they're discussing the curse, Jackie accidentally spills coffee in Delilah's kitchen. This mundane act, the delivery of the message and the spilling of the fluid, turns the ground unhallowed.
Fulfilling the specific esoteric conditions necessary for May, the demoness, to manifest and trap Delilah.
This reveals May's true, deep-seated strategic target, Delilah. The demoness had an ancient, unfulfilled promise from Delilah to kill an angel or two for her. So May's plan is possession, to inhabit Delilah and settle the 3-century-old spiritual debt.
She was manipulating the entire sequence just to get close enough to her target.
And amidst May's manifestation, the containment crisis with the possessed Remy Joachim flares up again. Delilah and Noah manage to trap the possessed body in a closet using a simple line of rice powder.
An ancient hoodoo trick.
Yeah.
Delilah explains that enemies of the hallowed, specifically demons and the unholy, cannot cross the threshold protected by this powder.
It's an effective, low-tech defense against high-level supernatural threats.
But Jackie's own fate is sealed by Luke. He abducts her, finally revealing his true identity and his commission. He is a warlock incubus.
And he was hired by the powerful vampire queen, Nitocris, to enact the curse on her behalf.
That clarification is crucial. Luke is not just an anonymous magic user. He's the male counterpart to a succubus. He's an incubus.
Which is why he was immune to her mind-wiping in the casino. His magic, perfected from his ancient Romani magic lineage, makes him a uniquely dangerous operative.
Luke reveals the true, complex purpose of the curse, and it's far beyond simple jealousy. The curse has advanced so far that the small silver manacle he wears is the only thing suppressing the lethal effects in Jackie, keeping her alive for now.
And he needs to keep her alive because he needs her.
He's ultimately revealed to be a pawn serving a higher master. He explains that he needs the blood of a dying creature born from Sereman vampire for a grand spell to free himself from centuries of servitude to Queen Nitocris.
And Jackie, transformed by both a serum and a vampire, represents that perfect, essential, sacrificial ingredient.
He also reveals the Queen's operational shift. Nitocris no longer wants Jackie used merely as leverage against Zane. She now wants Jackie delivered to a vampire prince.
This confirms that Zane and the Queen are involved in a massive, high-stakes political maneuver, and Jackie has become the ultimate strategic currency to be exchanged or sacrificed.
Facing certain death or permanent servitude to a vampire prince, Jackie, having just witnessed May's treacherous manifestation, shows incredible growth. She makes a final, desperate, but calculated deal with the infernal host.
She bargains with May, offering the immediate capture of Luke in exchange for May, forcing Luke to remove the curse instantly, plus a future favor owed to the demoness.
And what stands out here is Jackie's newfound strategic intelligence. She imposes strict, specific conditions on the future debt, ensuring the favor cannot involve harming Noah, Zane, Remy, or Delilah.
She learned the cost of an open-ended demonic favor and preemptively protected her allies. This is her transformation from a pawn to a calculated player.
So the deal is struck. May captures Luke, appearing in her true, horrifying demon-formed cloven hooves, razor teeth, a smoking touch. She brutally tortures Luke, physically forcing him to speak the complex counterspell.
And the gypsy curse is instantly removed, freeing Jackie just as she was on the brink of collapse from the relentless amplified itch. Following that dramatic confrontation and the removal of the curse, Zane reappears to face Jackie. And his explanation of the betrayal is a classic example of supernatural self-justification, framing control as necessary protection.
He explains that he allowed Luke to curse him, which was the vehicle for the curse to pass to Jackie via fluid transfer as part of a high-stakes deal with Queen Nitocris. His motive, he claims, was purely protection.
He intended the curse to accelerate her dependency, forcing her to cling to him and keeping her within his controlled territory. This, he argues, was the only way to shield her from the far more dangerous political machinations of the Serum Council and the Queen herself.
He admits regret for the emotional pain, but justifies the curse as a strategic necessity to ensure her immediate physical safety.
And that justification, that intense, controlling betrayal was the highest form of love, is a chilling staple of the source material. It forces you to question whether any of the Master's actions are truly selfless.
Absolutely.
Zane's decision is ultimately sacrificial. Before leaving to face the Queen's inevitable retribution for his double betrayal, he gives Jackie a powerful token. A metal acorn charm crafted by the Queen's warlocks designed to suppress magic.
He instructs her to stay with Noah, the more stable master, for immediate safety as he heads off to face the consequences of crossing the most powerful vampire in North America. His banishment is the price of her cure.
With the complex curse removed, Jackie immediately uses her powers for good. She concentrates and successfully returns the consciousness of the comatose victims, the priest, the pizza guy, the various cops and rednecks she afflicted, back to their bodies from the shared subconscious limbo.
And here's where the conversational color comes in. The description of the shared subconscious is hilariously mundane.
It's an ice cream parlor.
An ice cream parlor, where everyone was simply playing bingo. The greatest spiritual crisis of their lives was resolved in a shared, beige, temporary mental space.
That detail is a brilliant counterpoint to the high-stakes magic. They weren't fighting demons. They were waiting for their number to be called.
But the important outcome is that their minds are restored and their bodies are safe.
Jackie then uses Zane's protective artifact, the magic-suppressing acorn necklace on the possessed Remy Joachim. The necklace forces the powerful serum spirit to retreat permanently, finally freeing Remy from the possession that had haunted her for months and confirming the charm's efficacy.
But the subject's relationship with Noah is immediately tested in the wake of Zane's departure. Noah confirms he faced minor political fallout for creating a new succubus without council approval. A small fine and a misdeed report to the Serim Council.
But Noah, driven by his inherent serum need for control, quickly attempts to reestablish dominance. He presents Jackie with an ultimatum disguised as a proposal, a ring box, and demands her commitment and exclusivity immediately.
This is a direct challenge to her newly won autonomy. And when Jackie refuses the ultimatum, refusing to choose between the two volatile immortals, Noah, deeply hurt and jealous, leaves the camp alone for the night.
The fight highlights the fundamental tension in their relationship. Noah demands total control as a prerequisite for safety.
Despite the relationship turmoil, Noah reaffirms his support for Jackie's professional identity, her career as an archaeologist. He secures her a spot on the massive, expensive Yucatan Mayan dig. It's a substantial financial investment that legitimizes her life purpose.
But even this professional security comes with a conditional pepper. She must share his tent, ensuring her physical safety in the field. This condition, however, serves Noah's ongoing need for control and continuous presence. It blurs the line between protection and domination once again.
And Jackie, exhausted and needing stability to pursue her serious life, finally accepts the deal.
Okay, let's bring all these threads together. If we synthesize the core takeaways from Jackie Brighton's crisis, what stands out is the profound vulnerability created by supernatural dependency. It's anchored by the lethal timer of the itch and the involuntary obedience mandate.
This biology makes even low-level immortals attractive targets and easy pawns for higher powers.
And we see that betrayal within these intense, high-stakes immortal relationships is consistently framed as protection. Zane used the curse as protection. Noah uses financial investment and forced proximity as protection. It teaches us that control is the lingua franca of the supernatural world.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The political cost of seeking even temporary freedom: Luke's painful capture by May, Zane's banishment from Queen Nitocris's domain. It's exponential.
It clearly demonstrates that even powerful warlocks and high-level vampires are merely high-value assets in a highly structured, dangerous supernatural economy ruled by unseen ancient forces.
Jackie's journey charts a course from total dependence on two masters to making her own calculated deals with a demon to regain autonomy. I mean, that's immense personal growth.
Yet the paradox of control remains. Even after securing her freedom from the curse, she still needs Noah's massive financial and political investment to pursue her serious professional life, her archaeology career. She trades a spiritual debt owed to a demon for professional leverage secured by a serum.
Which demonstrates that true independence remains elusive when your survival requires such powerful allies.
So, what does this all mean for you, the listener? The ultimate paradox of Jackie's succubus transformation is that she was biologically molded into a man's ideal fantasy, granted eternal life and beauty, but this very state renders her an object of constant desire and political maneuvering.
And it's constantly jeopardizing her pursuit of a serious intellectual existence. She is forever trapped in the existential choice between the security, stability, and control offered by Noah.
And the volatile, consuming, yet utterly compelling passion embodied by Zane, who is constantly sacrificing his standing for her.
That internal struggle between the academic, intellectual identity she desires and the eternally seductive body she was cursed with is the fundamental knowledge we leave you to consider today. Will the price of her career eventually outweigh the cost of her autonomy?
That's the tension that defines her future.